Hi everyone, it's Jackie from Rose Gold Library, and it's super nice to see everyone here again. It's been a little bit of a while, so I'm excited to share y'all my reading journal for Circe by Madeline Miller. And in case you didn't know, this is the same author of The Song of Achilles. And I have read that book before. I'll probably do a reread because it's been a while. But Circe, I got this book a little bit actually during the pandemic, but I didn't really have time to fully read it. Ironic, given that I was in my room for almost a year and a half. But now I read this, I have been truly, the best way to describe it is that I was really emotionally attached, but also not at the same time. So Circe, in case you didn't know, at least of this book, is the daughter of Helios, one of the Titans, and basically the best way to describe it is just her life in general. How she's a part of so many Greek myths, but there's not really focused about her specifically. It's always focused on everyone else's. She's just played a part of it. And it's the best way to describe it is just Circe, point of view of how she has lived so long, that because she is immortal, and it's that her lifespan and how she views time is so different from everyone else, and just kind of how solidarity with other mortals and also solitude is one of her strengths and downfalls, depending on who you ask in the cast of characters that's inside. Circe, I would say, at least from my standards, she's a morally great character, because one of my favorite quotes that is in the book that I've written down in my favorite quote section is that the gods have their own reasons which they do not seem fit to share. That was on page 231. I'll write it down in a little bit, but reading that is basically the entirety of the plot. She loves and loses a lot of people, both mortal lovers and friendships with the Olympians. I wouldn't say she and Hermes were friends, because she does meet Hermes, the Olympian, the son of Zeus, and they don't seem to have what is considered a normal relationship. She's friends, that's being on very loose terms with them, but also how she truly does not like, I guess the best way to describe her as her journey is that she is learning about herself in every single chapter and how she views the world, because she gets banished into basically her own little island by her father after she basically transforms the nymph into a monster. And essentially she is trying to atone her past, but at the same time she does not care, and she deals with how one of the many things that she deals with is that she deals with how gods and titans. There was a quote in the book that kind of explains it, is that how they are constant, and another quote describes how she is a witch and that her brother, I cannot pronounce his name unfortunately, her brother, who's also a magic user, says that she has her own gifts for transformation. And reading that and then rereading this while doing this journal spread is that she truly does change. She originally basically hated the ideas of mortals, and then she falls in love with multiple mortal men, and she deals with hate and also just because one of the main themes, not themes, I want to say themes, themes is that this is ancient Greek, so there's like misogyny and patriarchy and family and a lot of pressure put upon her, because it was said in like when she was living with her father and her family before she got banished, is that the idea of she will be sold to a husband, but a lot of the other nymphs and other people, basically people that were in her father's court, were always saying how she would never amount to anything, or she would never be enough. And Circe basically has always fought for being recognized and to be powerful. And she eventually became so powerful that people basically casted her out. And it was just saddening to see, because a lot of the other characters that interacted with her, I would say they would either fit into two broad categories. Is that they wanted something from her, or the people that genuinely cared for her either at one point just kind of died because they were mortal, or just eventually forgotten about her. And I say that because she had a child with Odysseus, like, you know, from the Odyssey, and another character from the Song of Achilles. And Achilles was also mentioned in this story as well. And how that her son eventually wanted to leave the island because because Athena and all the other gods wanted her son dead eventually. And it was just so saddening to see how her son wanted to know about his father and just left her. But also, it's kind of like the classic tale of knowing that from an adult perspective, wanting to take care of your child, but also, you know, like the classic Little Mermaid of how I want to go see the world for what it is. And Circe deals with all of those feelings, both like the main name character Circe, but also everyone that's involved. I will say that later on, to not really spoil anything, is that Penelope, Odysseus' wife, eventually ends up on the island. And it's real interesting because how Circe and Penelope interacted with each other. They both knew that Odysseus was wrong, in that how eventually he did some things that harmed them both, either like during the time they were together or lack of time together. And it was like real interesting to see how these two women interacted with each other, and how Penelope and Cersei kind of figured that they didn't really need to each other to survive, but they wanted the closeness because they basically at that point in the book had nothing else left. Cersei has been used by a lot of other people, and when she wanted to feel something, it's kind of like, like a Greek tragedy, since it is based in Greek myths, is that she tried her best. And at the end of the book, I heard the last words, basically what happens in the entire book. She has changed so much that if you look at her from the beginning, she is a completely different person. And she has became a different entity, essentially. And note, I tried to draw the cover of the book, and let's just say it did not look good. So that's why I covered it up. I personally think it looks horrendous. But I will say that Cersei is a book that I'm, even though there are moments where I was like mad for her because of her and everyone around her, it was a great book to read. And just because I will say that, at least with this book, I managed to feel for the character. But thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you.